Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the KSP number 407. This is a mortise cylinder housing, is what it is. Pretty simple, straightforward piece of equipment a mortise cylinder housing is. This is going to accept all best 6 or 7 pin, well, it would accept 5 pin as well. Cores, 5 pin is very unusual. I've never seen one, but they do make them. This would be the 1 3/8 size that you would know that would take a 7-pin length. And this is in the satin chrome finish. Typical 1 5/32 diameter, 32 threads, ultra-fine threads per inch. Small format housing. So they say 1 3/8. Let's talk about that. 1 3/8 from the underside of the head is how all mortise cylinders are referenced from. 1 3/8 now. The way that mortise cylinders are almost always measured, is to the back of the cam. There's not a cam on here, but if there was, it would be right at 1 3/8. The way that best measures it is from the underside of the head to the back of the brass body, not including the cam. And as far as I know, they're the only people who do it that way. So be mindful, 1 3/8 on the cylinder is the way that we are all, I think, accustomed to calling out the length. So there you go. This would be what would be a thin head that would be here. Okay. Now this is going to include in the package, it's going to include a cylinder collar. Very likely that you'll need a cylinder collar with this because most applications do not require an 1 3/8 long cylinder, such as aluminum storefront. When you have this collar installed, that 1 3/8 now becomes about 1 1/8, and that's going to be much closer to being what you would need. This is probably still too long for a typical aluminum storefront application, but when it's about 1 1/8, now it's going to be a pretty typical size for certain applications, perhaps a key switch or an alarm bypass on an exit device. You're probably going to need some blocking rings if you're putting this onto aluminum storefront. And I would say that you'd probably need a 3/8 blocking ring would be pretty typical, something right in that range. So you'll get the cylinder collar. You're going to get this funny spear-shaped screw. What that is meant for is down at the tip of my finger, there's some daylight coming through. Right there. You can see it real easy here. That is a security measure. When you run that screw down into the hole, it will pierce and project out of the back of the cylinder housing. When you draw that screw or you tighten that screw, it will stick out. The concept is it will work to thwart an attack by which someone has put a wrench or something onto the head of the cylinder and want to turn it counterclockwise, and get it taken off the door. So it's a security measure. That would be a feature that you'd see in original best housings. There's also going to be this cap that is going to install a small little brass cap that will install onto the back of the throw member. It will certainly go on top of the cam, and by the way, the cams are not included. It will include 2 small screws, and I think that thread might be a 3/48 or a 4/40. I forget the thread size. This is not common for best mortise cylinder housings. You put your cam on, this cap goes on. Now the purpose of the cap actually has no relevance, I think, to this housing at all. In the sense that if this wasn't interchangeable core, you would have the keyway broached into the cylinder plug. Well, that cylinder plug will run all the way through the back of the housing. That broaching for the cylinder plug is open in the back. Technically, someone, if they, had the proper knowledge and skills and tools, could insert a probe through the broaching of the plug out the back of the plug and then manipulate the lock. This security cap is included for that purpose. I don't think you're going to use it on small format at all. I don't see how you're going to. So it's included probably because it's a package of material that is used with other cylinders, I'm guessing, from KSP. We'll take a closer look when we get into the product catalog, which I'm staring at over my shoulder here. So let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at all of the supporting information. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Here is the item that we are looking at. Let's take a look at some photos that we have posted down below. Here is the packaging, or the box, the contents, the cylinder itself, showing the throw member here. You'll know it's small format because each of the two lobes are the same size. When the bottom lobe is larger than the top lobe, it would be full size or large format, interchangeable core. But small format is symmetrical. There could be someone else that's symmetrical as well, but I'm not aware of who that would be. There could be a large format company that's symmetrical. So take that with, a grain of salt, I suppose. That small format is symmetrical. There could be others, but this is a telltale sign that it's symmetrical, that it's small format. There's the side view showing where that security screw will breach through. This is the milling that's been done for the set screw to hold the cylinder in place. The backside, cylinder ring, and then the rest of the components that are included with the item. Cylinder supplied less screw on cam, comes with cam retainer and 2 screws. I see what that is. It's a cam retainer. It's not a security device. Obviously, I'm unfamiliar with how they do this. We'll clear it up in a moment. Satin chrome face, interchangeable core housing. There is a link below this video to the cut sheet, and here it is. So, what my understanding is that the cam, not included, you have to order that separately, attached directly to the back of this unit. It clearly does not. You have to have that cam retainer to put the cam in place. Standard cam, Adams Wright, Corbin maybe? 702? Yeah, Cloverleaf, sure. Yale, I believe, Schlage. Sargent, they call this. This would be called a Yale cam if the lock was from 1910. Standard cam, also known as Yale cam. I think the Yale cam is shaped like this, but a bit longer and on an angle. So here's the chart of those available items. 406 for a 6-pin, 407 for a 7-pin, 1¼ inch and 3/8. You've got longer length cylinders. Why would you need a longer length cylinder? Well, most certainly because you have a thicker door, or you have a standard thickness of door and you're installing the lock in an unusual location. You could have an 1¾ inch thick door, but they're adding a 1/2 inch of something to the door, and your cylinder has to go through that. Or you've got a 3-inch thick gate, and the cylinder is installed somewhere within that dimension. So needing a longer cylinder is pretty typical and common. What I like to do when I'm figuring out what cylinder length I need, and it seems to work for me. We've got this dimension, to the back of the cam, let's say. I'll take the door thickness and divide it by 2, and I'll usually take a 1/16 off of that dimension, and that's what I would like this dimension to be, in case I've got something going, back to back. Want to have some room there for 2 cylinders to fit. Seems to work for me. Putting this center line into the center of the thickness of the door, of the lock body when it's centered, that would certainly work as well, and I think it basically comes back the same way. Tapered head cylinders. That's going to look more like this, a tapered head cylinder. 6 and 7 pin. They can do this also in Schlage, full-size interchangeable core in a mortise and a rim housing. And then, again, of course, your cams are separate. This client did not order a cam. I can't say why, but they didn't. Okay. Now, there's also a link to the product brochure as well, and that is the same document. And I want to scroll to where that cam retainer is located. Okay, they don't apparently show it, cam retainer, so we'll have to, you know, they're showing, unfortunately, this is 90 degrees the wrong direction. These holes should be at 12 and 6 o'clock. The way they have this throw member is 90 degrees off. So this part is wrong. Imagine it here and here. Your cam will obviously fit over that, and then that cam retainer is going to have to sit on top of that just to hold the cam to the unit itself. Okay, so that's what that is for. It does happen to be just like a security device that you'd see on other cylinders, however. So forgive my confusion about that. So this product catalog, we'll scroll through it quickly. We don't do a lot of KSP. I can't say that there's a specific reason why, other than maybe just market penetration. There just may not be not enough people who know of KSP. Who knows? Cores that are combinated, they can clearly do keying there in these best keyways. Sliding glass showcase lock they have here as well. Other housings in both rim and mortise. Cams for those different housings. Key blanks clearly. Pins and washers to hold it all together. Back to our 406, 407 page. They can do a pinning kit. I don't know whose kit that is. Probably Lab would be my guess. Just private, you know, or private labeled for KSP. Blocking rings and cylinder collars we talked about earlier. They do padlocks clearly. Locksmithing tools. This would be a plug holder and an ejector block. Capping block and punch, staking tool, and housing wrench. So that's your staking tool. If you're going to be building or putting or staking on your own cams on the back of cylinders, you'll need a staking tool. This housing wrench will allow you to install the mortise cylinder into whatever you're installing it into. Aluminum storefront, you know, deadbolt, and then you can turn the tool around and use this end to just test the operation after you have the cylinder secure. So it's a multi-purpose tool. This end to install or thread the cylinder. Why would you need that? Well, the head of the cylinder is probably fairly small, and if you have larger than average fingers, you might need a little extra surface area to grip onto. Then this end will test the lock. Plastic throwaway temporary core, which will do the same job as this. Ejector punch, key gauge, capping stock. There you go. There is a link below this video as seen here to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the KSP products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation as seen here, but also a link to the manufacturer's product catalog and other encyclopedic documents. Small format specifications and general data is here. This is going to be a encyclopedic review of small format. Depth and spacing data they give you here as well. It doesn't appear that they give you instructions on how to combinate cores, but we'll give you technical data on the cores. Housing installation and sheet. Okay, pretty simple and straightforward. K-series cam installation sheet. All right. So we're getting some confusing data here. I don't see the cam retainer that's on here. Apparently that cam is supposed to thread right to the back of the cylinder. The bottom line is you're going to figure it out when you go to install it. Okay, let's wrap up this video on camera. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. As I said earlier, we don't do too much KSP. I don't see those cylinders cross my desk very often, obviously. I think with items like this, it's a question of, is it in stock? Is it a reasonable price? Is it made well? And I think KSP meets all of that criteria. Probably the emphasis would most certainly be on, is it in stock? Can you get your hands on the material quick enough? And we have a client actually in Las Vegas, one of the major hotels that prefers KSP products, so we supply it to them when they order. Any questions on the 407? Mortise cylinder housing for 6 or 7 pin. You know, what's not included in here, I just thought of it, is there's a spacer that Best produces, a black plastic spacer that you're to insert down into the housing when you're using a 6-pin core. When the cylinder's capable of handling a 7-pin, you'll use one of those. If you happen to have a 5-pin cylinder, you would use 2 of those spacers. People will tell you, Best will tell you, it will work without the spacer, but at the same time, they supply the spacer. So you may or may not want to invest in those spacers. Clearly, KSP doesn't feel that those are necessary, but people do buy just the spacers. So not having actual experience as to the longevity of an installation without the spacer, I would certainly opt to install it the way this equipment by Best was originally designed. They obviously designed a spacer. Any questions on this or any other KSP product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.